Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 117 of the GVGCast. Happy Friday, happy weekend. I am your host for today, Ash Paulson, and I am joined by the one and only, my good friend and GVG partner, Daniel Alba. How's it going, my friend?
Hello, everyone. So good to see you. Happy Friday. It's been a very hot Friday for me. Hot week in general. We have a heat
Same.
wave.
Yep, same over here in LA, man. It's been quite the hot one. Not as hot as the previous heat wave from a couple of weeks ago. That was on a different level, but it's been a scorcher of a week for sure.
Yeah, but we're surviving. We're here at home. Here to do GVGcast, report on some news, just talk about what we've been up to. So, how y'all in chat doing? Been a while.
Hope you're all doing well. Go ahead, Daniel.
I was not here last week, so I was just wondering how y'all are doing.
Yeah, sorry we were not able to do the show last week, everybody. I was really the only one available last Friday. So, as some of you know, I'm sure many of you who are watching were there last week. I did one of my solo Mario Kart and Smash streams and answered some patron topics while playing with you all. And that was, as always, a great time. So, thank you to all of you who joined me for that last week. And yeah, we're back for GVGcast this week. Derek wanted to be on with us today, but he is on father duty. He's with his son Kai and doing dinner and bath time and all that, so he couldn't make it today, but he is with us in spirit, and hopefully he'll be able to join us maybe next week. But yeah, it has been quite a week, I must say. And as you kind of know, Daniel, from some of the stuff I posted in our partner chat in Discord, but both my wife and I had to go to urgent care this week for different reasons, but I definitely have been going through it this week with some sudden medical stuff going on. I'm okay. I think I'll be fine. But I've just been, without going too much into the weeds, been getting some chronic headaches that I'm not used to. I've had headaches all my life, and I've experienced some migraines before, but I had some chronic headaches this week, which were quite a bit worse than anything I've experienced before. So went to urgent care. They think I'm okay, but I definitely need to see my general care practitioner ASAP just to rule out anything else. So I think I'm fine, but it definitely has cost me sleep this week, and I had also a bunch of tax stuff to do this week. And as those of you who work for yourself, or if you're a freelancer, Daniel, you know your taxes are a nightmare when you're a freelancer. It's just doing them, it sucks. And doing them sucks, period. But when you're a freelancer or you work for yourself, it is just so much harder. So it's been a rough week between this medical stuff and taxes and such. But I'm here, I'm alive, and I'm happy to be here with you. I'm also happy to shout out a bunch of our patron birthdays. We have a lot of patron birthdays to shout out this week. So first of all, going in order here, happy belated birthday to Blaker36, who celebrated theirs on September 28th, Shellshock, who celebrated theirs on September 29th, Echoes of Luxtom, aka LuxCare, who celebrated theirs on September 30th, Super Duper Pooper Scooper, who celebrated theirs on October 2nd, Mario Man Tess and Marathon Max, who both celebrated theirs yesterday on October 3rd. And finally, Base Forever, who is celebrating theirs today. Today is Base Forever's birthday. So happy birthday to all of you.
Happy birthdays.
Yeah, and what's kind of cool, Mario Man Tess and Marathon Max, you also, both of you happen to share a birthday with my wedding anniversary. My wedding anniversary is yesterday. So yeah, It's kind of cool that that we all share that day together for various reasons. That's pretty neat. But yeah, so with all that said, Daniel, how's your week been? What have you been up to? I know you streamed earlier. You streamed the demo of Metaphor ReFantazio. I have to assume that you're loving it. How are you feeling about it so far, man?
What's funny is that when I streamed this yesterday, the entire demo the portion that I did was essentially the exact stopping point in which I got to in the preview event that was in New York when I was flown over for the Atlus. And so apparently this demo is probably more or less about 5 hours long. So yeah, that amount of time pretty much filled. Yeah, I got to the exact point after the exact events in which I played way back over there. And so next time I play, I'm going to play the rest of the demo probably this Tuesday. I'll be going in entirely blind. I won't have any context or knowledge of what comes up ahead. I was pretty much showing off what I saw when I was streaming last time. But yeah, I'm been doing that. Been playing that on there. I finished a couple of games. I finished the Plucky Squire on stream Tuesday, And
Nice,
then
nice.
the other couple nights ago, I finished Zelda Echoes of Wisdom as well. So I have more context for these now.
I don't know how you and Brandon and John do it. I am probably about halfway through Echoes of Wisdom. I just finished the fourth dungeon. Been doing some side stuff before the final three, or the next three, I should say. And I don't know how you guys finished it so fast. I don't know what is your secret.
I wish Brandon and John told me that they were doing a discussion. They just kind of did it, finished 100.
Yeah,
They finished 100% like in a couple days. I'm just like, I'd like to talk about this game too, please.
I
It,
know. I didn't even know they were doing it either, but I wouldn't have been able to participate since I hadn't finished it.
so yeah, so I have a lot to say about it. I don't know when I'll talk about it, but I have a lot to say about it. So,
Well, I'm gonna hopefully get in a good chunk of time tomorrow, so maybe if I'm able to finish it by like early next week, you and I can do like a follow-up discussion.
well, I mean, I guess we'll see. My goal was to have an impressions discussion early on so that more people would actually watch it, and then do
Yeah,
a spoiler discussion afterwards when people are, actually done with the game, so that they'll
yeah,
actually be more sensitive. Because you see a spoiler discussion, and not everyone's going to remember to go back and click on it. So I don't know. It probably, I don't know. They wanted to do it because they wanted to do it. So I don't know.
yeah.
It's just what it is, I guess.
You and I could always do a patron exclusive one or something. Could be fun. Because I want to talk about it too, man. Like it's a brand new Zelda. It's a great game. Obviously, we're not going to go into spoiler territory here, but I do hope that I'll be able to like get close to the end. I've got a lot of time tomorrow. I think basically no time on Sunday. I've got family stuff all day on Sunday, so no gaming time there. But I'm hoping to kind of have a marathon session and get closer to the end of the game tomorrow. But yeah, been having a great time with it. Obviously, very excited. And I gotta mention this just because it's kind of amazing. I mentioned this on my solo stream last week, but I gotta share it here as well. I pulled something off a couple of weeks ago that I don't know. I can't remember the last time I ever was able to do this, and all the stars aligned. But I actually rolled credits on three games in the same week a couple of weeks ago. Those being Astrobot, Yars Rising, and Rugrats Adventures in Gameland. Now, to be fair, I was already at the end of Astrobot and Yars Rising, and Rugrats is like 2 hours long. But still, the fact that I was able to roll credits on three separate games in 1 week as an adult, I don't remember the last time I rolled credits on even two games in the same week.
Yeah, they're. I don't know how long Yars Rising is, but yeah, those are relatively. The other two are relatively shorter games, so that's really the way to do
Yeah.
it these days. So
Yars is about 10 hours to 100%. I 100%ed it, and I can't recommend it enough. It's basically WayForward's latest game, and it's kind of like a reimagining of the Yars Revenge IP from the Atari 2600 way back when. It's just it's a good Metroidvania with an amazing soundtrack. I've been saying this. I'll say it again for those who haven't heard it. It low key has one of the best soundtracks of the year. It's such a vibe. So if you can and you have time for just a cool little Metroidvania in your schedule, like I said, you can beat it in about 9-10 hours. But it's worth it for the soundtrack alone. Seriously.
that offline is saying, for those wondering, Yars Rising is a reboot of an old Atari game by WayForward.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll try to get to that. I heard things about it, but if you're like me, you play games that are too long, so you hardly ever get a chance to actually play a new game
Yeah.
when time comes around. But
Um,
yeah.
I guess I should also mention that my wife and I are continuing to make steady progress in Ace Attorney 5. And I shared this in our Discord like a couple of days ago, but we finished Case 5-3. We haven't started 4 yet, but we finished 3 and really, really enjoyed it. So much better than 5-2. Not quite to the heights of 5 DLC, which is just an all-time great case. But 5-3 ended up being extremely enjoyable for us and was a really nice comeback after 5-2 being one of the worst cases yet, in my opinion. So we're really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next because the cliffhanger at the very end of 3 sets up some interesting stuff for 4, and looking forward to it. So maybe we'll play some of 5-4 tonight. Who knows? But we are making steady progress. And yeah, other than that, I've just been playing Echoes of Wisdom. And some of you have already mentioned this in chat. I'm so excited. It is, of course, spooky month, but it also means we are just a few days away from Silent Hill 2 Remake. And based on the review scores it's getting, I've been saying this forever, and I think I'm going to end up being right. But I've been saying for quite a while now that I have a feeling that Bloober Team was going to be able to pull it off. And based on the review scores and based on the previews, it really does sound like they have. And I'm so excited. Silent Hill seems like it's back, baby, and I've missed it so much. I cannot wait to pick up the remake next week.
I've never indulged the series very much, so I wouldn't be able to know. But
Right.
I did see there was like a bunch of tens and nines in the reviews, so that's promising.
Yeah. I'm so happy. You're not a big horror guy in general, right? Kind of like Steve.
I've played very few, and the ones I played, I didn't know they were for some of the
Okay.
cases.
Yeah. I'm a big horror guy, and we will be talking about that more, I think, later in the month. So there were a couple of patron topics this submitted this week that were, of course, horror themed for Spooky Month, and I almost picked them, but the reason I didn't is because Derek is also a big horror game fan, and you're not as much. So I figured those topics would be would be best served when Derek is on the show with us to generate, more of a discussion. So for those of you submitting horror themed topics, feel free to resubmit them next week or, throughout the month. And we'll certainly chat about them when Derek is on the show. But since I'm really the only horror guy today, made more sense to wait on those. But Weeby, to answer your
Yeah.
question, you do not have to play the first one to get Silent Hill 2. 2 is kind of its own standalone game. However, 1 and 3 are two parts of the same story. So, like, if you do get a chance to go back and play the others, definitely play 1 before 3. And personally speaking, Silent Hill 3 is my favorite one. So if you do get a chance to play it, please go do. But yeah, 2 is an entirely separate story. And man, it's coming out so soon. I can't wait. And then we got what? We got Metaphor. We got Sonic X Shadow. We got so much Mario Party Jamboree. There's so much coming out this month, man.
Yeah, Metaphor is a week from now. It's a
Yeah.
little crazy to think about. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm trying to finish up as many things as I can right now before that happens because that's probably going to be where most of my time goes at this point.
Oh yeah, and it's like what, supposed to be 90 hours or 80 hours for the main story, and then 100 hours
It's
to
yeah, it's
yeah
80
for the
hours
side.
for the main story, 100 hours if you wanted to do everything. That's a estimate though. So essentially,
Okay,
you're this is a Persona length game for everything. So I'm still wondering how that's going to work because the structure of everything is a bit different. And there's similarities and differences. So yeah, I think that's one of our news topics though.
it is, yeah, which is I guess a good way to kind of segue into some of our news. So yeah, I did one of the things I did pull for this week is Metaphor's kind of expected length or projected length, and yeah, it's an Atlus game, so not really too too surprised that it's 80 hours estimated to complete the story, and then 100 hours with side stuff. That is one game I just don't think I'm going to have time to fit in because, November is going to have Brothership and also Dragon Quest 3. And then December has Fantasian. And I'm also kind of still chipping away, not kind of, still chipping away at Octopath Traveler 2. And so with everything with, Mario Party and Silent Hill and Sonic X Shadow, I just don't think I'm going to have time to fit Metaphor in. But I'm so excited for you, man, because I know how hyped you are.
I'm a little worried that Metaphor could be a game that overstays its welcome because I know some people have had
You think
issues
so?
with the length of Persona.
Hmm.
Persona works on its own in-game calendar, and so there's like a trajectory for where things happen and when things happen. Metaphor is the same way; it has its own in-game calendar.
Right.
It's not modeled like our calendar though. There's 5 days in a week, and they're all named different, like Flames Day or Arbor's Day or something like that. And so it has its own like fantasy year and calendar. So I'm not sure
Right.
how that's going to play things out. But yeah, I guess it's just there are people who get burnt out on games like Persona and other JRPGs because the sheer length of them. It's so there's so much content and then stuff to do in those kind of games. So I'm wondering if I'm pretty patient with that. I'm used to it by now from an Atlas game. So I'll probably play. I'm definitely gonna play it from start to finish. But
Hmm.
I've platinumed Persona 5. The original Persona 5 is a lot harder to platinum than Royal, for example. And
Right.
there's I don't know, there's just a lot to it that will keep me hooked, I think. The part where I've just gotten to the point where I can actually take control of party members and start learning the system where essentially what is the archetype or job system. And
Hmm.
so that's when you can actually get a little more reins on the story and the characters. So but everything thus far has been very promising. The presentation is incredible. There's a lot of stuff there to behold. The character design is amazing. The music by Shoji Meguro. Very nice to see him work on a soundtrack that's not just like contemporary or modern with the Persona style games. He hasn't really gone back to that since one of the. It's been a while since he's done that kind of style of game, like Devil Summoner, one of those games. I forgot which one. But yeah, he's dipping into a very different exotic style of music, and I'm very excited to hear more of it. But yeah,
Awesome.
that's pretty much what we're in for. I still highly recommend it to people if they want to at least give it a shot. There's a demo, so try it if you want to. If you enjoy the demo, everything that's you play as per the usual. Now you have that save data carried over to the main game. I've already had a couple of people saying that they've tried it at my advice, and they've said like, "What have you done to me? This game is going to be so long and take forever to beat," and things to that effect. So mission accomplished, I guess.
I definitely do intend to check out the demo at least for sure. And I have to ask Professor Bonk, he said the only problem you have with the game is the PC performance and the canon protagonist name.
Oh
like,
yeah.
why is his name Will?
So
But why is Will a bad name though? Like one of my favorite games of all time is
So,
has a
really
protagonist named
in
Will.
this game, you're gonna talk about all these crazy things happening. You got one of your friends' name is Leon Stroll de Heliatis or something, and then you have your
Oh,
main character's name is Will. My name's
uh-huh.
Will. Like
Fair
it's
enough.
such an office name. Like what you can't do anything better. So I had a poll in chat to name our main character because you actually it's I won't spoil it, but you shouldn't name you probably won't name the main character your name because there's a reason behind that. You'll find out very early on that you won't want to name your character your actual name. That's why we held a poll and we had a couple names on there. William was one, just to
William.
add a little more
Nice.
flavor to just put a little more sauce on that name.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a few other ones that we thought of, and then we landed on one. It was Lucian. We named the character Lucian, and
Okay.
so we wanted to. We did that as a family, as a Good Vibes Arcade family. We named our son together. His name is Lucian. One of the better
Nice.
things about that game also is the main character speaks like not excessively, like not throughout conversations and whatnot. Gallica still pretty much does your conversing and everything, but when you select an option of dialogue, he'll actually speak, and there's other scenes where he'll speak as well. So that's a nice change.
I really like that. Yeah, you I think know that I've never been a big fan of silent protagonists, and I really like that your protagonist does have a bit of their own personality and voice in this game.
That Alpha Line is saying. So he's like Shez from Three Hopes. He doesn't speak that often. Gallica will still do most of the talking, but it's a good step in the right direction. Like he actually will talk, and there's some cutscenes where you see him speaking normally with another character. So I know they're slowly they're getting there. Like for example, when your main character dies in battle, it doesn't mean a game over anymore. Like in other Atlus
Which is
titles.
nice.
You
Yeah.
can add, just like I love how in like Persona, your main character dies and like what everyone just gives up and stops.
I know. That never made sense to me. I've never enjoyed that mechanic when it's present in games. I don't like when your main character dies, that's it. It doesn't make sense. I always thought it was weird, like, and I get, this is more due to technical limitations in the past, but like JRPGs where you have more than 4 characters in your party, why is it game over if they all get knocked out? Like, where are the rest of them? Like in FF6, there's like a cast of 12 party members. Like, why is it game over if your main party or if your current party gets knocked out? Like, do they just leave them to die just leave their bodies there on the ground? Like, what? Obviously, it was technical limitations, but it always was weird to me. And I really appreciate that some modern JRPGs have kind of, push back against that, and it will have your party members in reserve take over, like in FF7 Rebirth, for example.
Yeah, like you have to actually use the entire party. The Sea of Stars do that when you start getting KO'd. Do they? Can you? I guess you can switch out, but if you have no, if like your last person who's on the field gets KO'd, do you automatically switch the characters out? I'm trying to think of what other games do this.
Well, as Alpha Line mentioned, the Mario RPG remake, which is I forgot that does that, but that's really cool,
Oh, okay, yeah,
and I love that does that.
it makes more sense that way. At least give me the full chance to come back.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, one of my favorite games of all time, Illusion of Gaia, has a main character named Will. So personally, I don't mind the name, and I will say, one of the biggest blunders I've made in recent memory with games is making fun of the fact that FF16's protagonists are Clive and Jill. I mean, that's so boring. This is not Final Fantasy. It's going to be so silly. And then I ended up absolutely loving the game, and Clive is like one of my goated FF protagonists now. So I've learned not to judge by names anymore, because I made a huge blunder with FF16 in that regard. So yeah, but yeah, I'm super excited for you about Metaphor. I want to check out the demo myself for sure. And something else I want to talk to you about, because you did a video on this. This happened late at night, and I was kind of going through my urgent care thing. But F-Zero, like, who saw any of this coming, man? We got some amazing F-Zero news this week, between the BS F-Zero tracks coming to F-Zero 99, and then next week on October 11th, we're getting Climax. I forgot the other one that's coming, but Climax
GP
is the
Legend
Japanese
the other one.
GP Legend, right? Which I do have the physical of, actually. But we're getting GP Legend, and then we're getting F-Zero Climax, which is never released outside of Japan. This is the coolest thing, man.
As BC King Games is saying, the F-Zero Resurgence. Yeah, I did a whole video on this on the channel, just like at midnight, because I couldn't contain. I was thinking about it. I was watching, or I was seeing the news for 99 out of nowhere. They added all these tracks in the 1.5 update. And then when they also announced the NSO games, I was like, okay, well, we should better do a news update on this one because no one else is available. F-Zero 99 continues to get updates, even though Nintendo previously had stated that they weren't going to do like actual updating anymore. So I guess there's enough community and support for the game that they're continuing to do this. But yeah, the main thing, there's a lot of little updates and buffs and technical things that they fixed with this, but they added the Ace League, which is 5 different tracks. It's Mute City 4, Sandstorm 1 and 2, Big Blue 2, and Silence 2. And these tracks were specifically on the broadcast satellite, no, BS system, Satellaview, otherwise known as. And these tracks were modified, of course, to accommodate 99, the F-Zero 99, but it's still the same structure of the tracks that we have here. And they not only did that, they kept going. If you complete the Ace League with any of the 4 machines, you will get the complimentary machine that you only were able to play as in the Satellaview. So it's cool. If you beat it with the Blue Falcon, you get the Blue Thunder, and it's a completely like modeled actual new machine. It's just a skin. It has the same properties, but you can get the Blue Thunder, the Luna Bomber, the Green Amazon, and the Fire Scorpion, which is essentially like the parallels to all the ones we have here. Very hard to do right now because everyone's really good. I've only gotten the Blue Thunder thus far, but the Ace League doesn't kid around. There's some tricky tracks in that one, especially with like the Sandstorm. But Sandstorm ones are so cool. Originally in the Satellaview, that had like a wind hazard, kind of like Deathwind, where it just pushes you off to the side. It does not have that anymore. Instead, when the person in the lead starts the 3rd lap, an actual sandstorm will happen. It'll obscure your vision above you, and it's like,
that's cool.
They had no reason to add this, but they did, and it's so cool that they're like paying all this special attention to these tracks. And it's just a really cool addition to this. It's the first anniversary, so I guess they wanted to do something special for 1 year of F-Zero 99. And that's just for that. Not even talking about how we're getting F-Zero GP Legend on NSO, and then Climax, which never came out, as you mentioned, was only released in Japan, which is unfortunate because as far as what I've seen, I've never played it personally myself, but it takes what they've learned with Maximum Velocity and GP Legend that came before it on the Game Boy Advance and improved upon it. This has a stage creator, a course creator, a track editor, essentially, which we haven't seen that since, or that series hasn't seen it since the 64 disc drive for F-Zero X, the expansion kit. So yeah, a lot of crazy stuff. I wish we got the expansion kit for F-Zero X. Maybe they can still do it if they want to. I want to play that. But there's so much here. Really cool. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm not particularly good at F-Zero 99, but I do want to boot it up just to like check out these new tracks, which are going to be extremely difficult, as I know you just said. I just want to try them just for the novelty purpose of it. And Yeah, I'm not particularly great when it comes to actually like competing against the 98 other racers, but it is a good time. I don't know if I'll ever unlock all the parallel machines and stuff because I'm just I was much better at Mario 35 than I am F-Zero 99, but I do enjoy some good races on that. So I'm gonna check it out maybe tonight actually and check out the new stuff. But I'll definitely be checking out F-Zero Climax. That is
Mhm.
still so cool. And Alpha Lion, you are thinking exactly what I'm thinking. I know BC King Games, you're talking about Mother 3, which that's probably never going to happen on the US or the Western app. But if you create a Japanese NSO account, you can grab the GBA, like the Japanese GBA NSO app, and Mother 3 is on that. So, either way, even if they did somehow put in, Mother 3 on the Western app, it's not going to be translated. So,
Yeah, that's the thing with games like Mother 3 and Fire Emblem 6, for example.
yeah.
These are heavily worded and scripted games. F-Zero Climax is just a racing game. You need very minimal translation to have that work, and it's probably not going to be translated at all. I mean, you don't really need to know too much about the language to make it work.
Yeah.
Much like other titles like Panel de Pon, for example. But
Right. And
yeah, I would love to see those titles too, but I don't know. Maybe one day. We'll see those one day. Right now, I'm just gonna revel in the fact that F-Zero is very much not dead. It's not a dead franchise
yeah.
right now. Glad to see
Well,
this happening.
speaking of dead franchises, Professor Bonk, you're right on target with the one I want, which is Rhythm Heaven, Rhythm Tengoku. Like that's also a game that requires very minimal reading, so they don't need to translate it. Just please drop the original GBA on Rhythm Heaven on NSO GBA. And since we're getting F-Zero Climax, I feel like maybe there's a chance they might actually do it. Just throw us a bone, Nintendo. Like we haven't gotten a Rhythm Heaven game I mean, the last one was on 3DS. I don't even know when it came out, but it was like years and years and years ago. We got two WarioWare games on Switch. No Rhythm Heaven. Just throw us a bone, man, and just drop the original on NSO GBA, please. Like we even got a new Famicom Detective Club game this generation, and no Rhythm Heaven. So please, yeah, it's been almost 10 years, as Professor Bonk said. So I really, really, really hope we get at least the original Rhythm Heaven on NSO GBA. That would be really nice. Also,
Yeah.
thanks Cornflakes for the tier 1 sub. Really appreciate you. Thank you.
The
And
uh
yeah,
the elation that John and I were feeling when F-Zero came by it was crazy because yeah, we had a
yeah,
whole discussion on F-Zero 99 like a year or so back at this point, and yeah, the see that is it's unreal. It's such a big deal because to see that, I mean, they're willing obviously to bring over versions of these games that never came out in the West. Like we've already seen several examples of it on NSO, but the fact that they decided like, oh, we'll put F-Zero on here as well, pretty big. That's the biggest news day we've had as F-Zero fans in a very long time. So
yeah.
a lot of Japanese exclusive content coming this way, and I hope that the trend continues. I'm waiting to see what happens. I guess the most likely thing, I saw it in chat earlier, perhaps the most likely thing we'll see is a remake or port or something of F-Zero GX.
That seems likeliest to me. Yeah,
That would be the most logical thing, perhaps, because I mean we've had technically a quote unquote our new game with 99. Some people might not count it as one, but it definitely is one. But yeah, a proper release of a traditional console game of F-Zero X or F-Zero GX rather seems the most likely. Of Switch 2, who knows what's gonna happen with Switch 2? We could get if we get a new title, then all the better.
right. I gotta say though, if I had to choose, I mean, I want a new F-Zero game as much as anybody, but I'm gonna maybe say something slightly unpopular here. But if I had to choose between one of a new F-Zero game, a new Wave Race game, or a new 1080 game, I think I'd go with Wave Race before
I'm
F-Zero. I
leaving.
have to.
I'm
You're just
leaving.
leaving. I love F-Zero. It's like a close, and I love 1080 as well. But it would be like Wave Race, F-Zero, 1080 for me. I want a new Wave Race game so badly.
I enjoy
I
Wave
love that
Race.
series.
I remember I did a video about the silly whatchamacallit, the promotional ads, the in-game advertisements for like uh gosh, I mean yeah, it was one of the ones was Fanta was the one that made me laugh
Oh,
because
okay.
that was in the original Japanese version of it. I had to look through. I played like 4 different versions of that to find all the product placement ads, because there was also a version where they replaced it with like Wii and Nintendo DS ads, because it was weird to see an N64 game have ads for a Wii. The DS
Right,
didn't even
right.
come out yet. Wave Race is a funny series, but yeah, maybe we'll see that one day. I don't know.
I doubt it. I highly doubt it. F-Zero is way higher on the list for a revival, I think, than Wave Race ever would be. I doubt we'll ever see a new Wave Race ever again.
I
But
doubt we'll
you
ever
know,
see.
one can
I
dream.
doubted we'd ever see a Famicom Nintendo Club when that happened. So
You know, that is so true. And that's also something I need to get back to and play, because I played the demo of Emio and I really liked it and I finished it, and I've heard crazy things about Emio's ending, and I'm so curious about where it goes and like what happens, because I haven't been spoiled, but I've heard that some wild stuff happens, and I really did. You end up playing the rest of it, or have you not?
I've like another thing I'm big on are also visual novels, and
Yeah.
I. The sad thing is that I played this probably about halfway through, but that was on my ex's Switch.
Oh
We
no.
got those games on their Switch. I don't have them on mine, so I'd have to. Well, I guess I never actually bought it. I'd have to buy them again and go back to where I left off. I kind of lost my interest for it because of the whole thing of all that, and so.
That makes
But I
sense.
still want to go back to it. I wanted to. I never expected that we get a sequel. So now I'm even more like, well, Nintendo, you could do a sale to get more people interested, but
Yeah.
you just refuse to put anything that's first party like this on any kind of sale. So we'll see. Because now that's 3 visual novels I have to get through. Not that they're super long or anything, but
No.
still.
And I
John
really
has no.
enjoyed. Oh, good.
Oh no, I was just gonna say John had nothing but nice things and glowing things to say about Emio. He has a video on that too if you haven't checked out.
Yeah.
Spoiler free.
I know he loves it, and I know I love that video he did on it, and it just made me want to play it even more. And I actually co-reviewed the remakes of the first 2 games with Steve way back when, not way back when, like a couple of years ago. But I really enjoyed The Girl Who Stands Behind. Only got about halfway through The Missing Heir, but liked it. There was just too much other stuff to play at the time. But what I've heard is that Emio leans a little bit, not even a little bit closer, but even more into the horror side that the Girl Who Stands Behind had. So, like, The Missing Heir is more of a mystery story, and the Girl Who Stands Behind was more horror. And from what it seems like and what I've heard, Emio just goes super hard in that direction. And as I've been saying earlier, I love horror games, so that really appeals to me. And yeah, so Vedron's saying I beat Emio and bawled my eyes out. I've heard there's something about the ending that is just bonkers that you can't believe Nintendo actually did, and I need to play it. I'm so interested. Speaking
Oh
about
man.
something, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just like I gotta find out as well.
Yeah.
One day.
And speaking of bonkers, I do need to shout this out. So I've mentioned before that one of our awesome patrons, Aramis Baramis, they've been having like using their monthly sessions to play through Suda 51 Silver Case trilogy with me. So we took like a year to finish the Silver Case, and then we went right into Flower, Sun, and Rain, which is the second game. We just finished it last month. Oh my God, what a cool ass game. I mean, if you've played a Suda game, you know how wacky and weird and vibey they are.
Oh
But
yeah.
man, I would have never played this game if not for Aramis Baramis. And I don't think I've ever played a game with quite the vibe that Flower, Sun, and Rain has. So if you have any interest in what Suda does and the kind of weird shit he does, like Flower, Sun, and Rain has such a specific vibe where it's very Twin Peaksy. Everything feels a little bit off kilter and a little creepy, and it's got these lo-fi DS visuals, really cool lo-fi music. It's completely unique to any other game I've ever played, and I have to shout it out because it was such an incredibly memorable experience. So a bit of an aside, we were talking about weird vibey stuff and
Oh
Flower,
yeah.
Sun, and Rain. Hendrix Trognos, it's legit cool. Yeah, it really is. It's so good.
Suda's my boy.
Yeah.
I've always
Yep.
been a fan of the crazy stuff that he does, and No More
So you played
Heroes.
it too?
Oh no, I haven't played that one in particular, but I love
Okay.
his. I mean, I played No More Heroes, of course. So
Right.
that's sort of wackiness that I'm always down for. So
Yeah. But yeah, this month we're going to go right into the third game, which is the 25th Awards. So I'm really looking forward to that too. It's what a cool series. But yeah, well, let's see what else we got here. I do have to ask. Obviously, we're all big Sonic fans. That's no surprise, and including you and I, Daniel. Have you been watching the Dark Beginnings anime?
I have to get to those. I mean, I know they're like shorts, right? I still
They're
need to get
shorts,
through them,
yeah.
but I know I saw bits of that already online of like Team Dark was all together. It was like, oh man.
Dude, they rule. They're so good. They're so well animated. The voice acting's fantastic. The lore, as Caitlin's saying in chat, there's so much lore to these. Like, oh man, it's such a great lead up to Sonic X Shadow Generations. I can't recommend it highly enough. My wife and I have been watching them as they come out, and yeah, man, they're really good. So check them out when you can. They're really good.
I guess forget Sonic. This really is the year of Shadow. I've never seen so much love and attention put into like a single title, lead up to a single title, or for a single character from Sega. The way that they've done with Shadow. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how. I mean, for all we know, apparently, Shadow Generations is like its own game as long as the regular
Yeah,
Sonic
they said it's like
Generations.
around as long as Sonic Generations, maybe slightly shorter. So I think we're getting a chunkier game here than maybe we expected at first.
I thought it was just going to be like a side episode. Here's some
Same.
stages with highlights and all that, but no, they're going harder than I thought.
I am so excited for that game and for the third part of the Dark Beginnings anime. Really quick to answer your question, in game 6013. In terms of the patron topics that we discuss at the end of the show each week, that is a perk that is exclusive to our patron at the producer tier and above. So sometimes we'll just answer things we see in chat during the show, but in terms of submitting questions for us to chat about at the end of each show, that is a producer specific perk. All right. Well, I pulled this last story, Daniel, because it is you, and you are the biggest Tales of fan that I know. And so I was curious if you had read this interview about with a Tales of Graces F developer talking about a possible remaster of Tales of the Abyss and the series' future, and if so, what you think or what you thought of it.
Yeah, I remember reading about this earlier. So Tales of Graces F is the latest game coming, the latest remaster for the Tales of series, and so it's part of the remaster project. And that means right away everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, it's a whole project! They're doing more. What else
Right.
are they going to work on?" The most likely one is probably Tales of Xillia because that's already had like some leaks in the past, and it just makes sense because that one's also just kind of trapped on the PlayStation 3. There's no other way to really play it, and there's
Hmm.
been some like weird delistings. The sequel's not even available on PSN anymore, and you can only get Xillia as like part of a bundle with Graces.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I remember somewhere they mentioned that they're not really looking so much for the 2D style, those sprite games. So that doesn't really bode well for games like Fantasia or Destiny or
That's too
Eternia.
bad. Yeah.
They want to focus more on the 3D titles, which in a way it's a damn if you do, damn if you don't, because in this way it is more likely that they will probably do Tales of the Abyss. Tales of the Abyss is my favorite one of the series, probably. I really love the little the core team that worked on Symphonia, Tales of the Abyss, and Tales of Vesperia. Mostly the same team worked on those. You can kind of feel it if you play those in succession as they learned and evolved. But yeah, Abyss is one of my favorites for its characters, its story. It's just a cozy game for me to play. And
Hmm.
if they remaster that one, I wanted them to do a whole remake if they could. But a
Uh-huh.
remaster is probably going to be most one of the higher tier ones in the cards for them. It's interesting because one of the a poll in Japan took place not too long ago, and of the top five, I on the at the number five was in fact Tales of Legendia, which I was really surprised about.
Wow. Yeah,
Uh,
that surprises me.
Japan actually, yeah, they want to see that happen more so than other people. I think it's more popular than we give it credit for because it's also that is stuck on the PS2. That's not going anywhere, unfortunately, unless we port it, remaster it, remake it. Again, they need to remake it. There's a lot of problems with it
Hmm.
because it was being like co-developed at the same time as Symphonia, and so Symphonia kind of went ahead with it was the first game in proper 3D, and then Legendia kind of stayed. It was like 2.5D because the battles kind of took place in the 2D plane, and the team that made it was also pretty much a bunch of like fighting game developers, like from Tekken and whatnot. So the fighting was a bit different and kind of a weird mesh of those games and also the previous Tales. So yeah, very excited to see where all this leads, though. I'm very curious to see what they actually will choose beyond this, but I'm still waiting for that good old Tales of Graces have to come out earlier next year.
Yeah, that's I would personally really like to see a remaster of Abyss because I played it on 3DS and dropped it at about 12 hours in, and not for any particular reason. I think I just had a lot of other stuff to play, but I hear so much about the story and Luke's character development specifically, and that really interests me because, and I know this is like the popular, you're supposed to think this, but I couldn't fucking stand that guy. He annoyed me to death, but I know that he has a redemption, and I want to experience it for myself because they do such a good job of making him absolutely insufferable, and I want to like
That's the point.
enjoy. Yeah, exactly, and I really want to enjoy for myself his hero's journey because I keep hearing about how great it is and how great Abyss is. So I think if I had to pick, I would really hope they'd remaster Abyss.
If anyone is curious, Derek started streaming Tales of the Abyss as well,
Right,
and
on his personal streams.
I think it's funny that his character, Luke's character, doesn't really bother Derek much. I think he just kind
Really?
of sees it from the lens of like, oh yeah, I mean, you're the observer watching these characters, and I don't know. I think it's just it's funny that I guess I was the same way. Like I know he's annoying, but I'm not like offended by the way he acts or anything because this really just the other characters dealing with that
Right.
situation. And I wanted to see where it went. Like genuinely wanted to see like is he gonna be like this for the entire game? It's
Uh-huh.
in some cases, but yeah, I'm really happy to see that more people are playing it and getting interested in it. Um, yeah, maybe because Derek has kids, he deals with Luke in a different way than some people do because he's just like he's kind of a spoiled brat, so you know
Uh-huh.
how it is. But yeah,
For sure, for sure. Yeah, no, and I really I want to see that journey happen myself. So hopefully, if a remaster happens, that would be the way for me to do it. I think I'd rather play it on the big screen though. I could always go back and pull my 3DS copy back out, but it didn't really do much with the stereoscopic 3D, and I think I'd just rather play it on the big screen. So hopefully they do eventually remaster Abyss because that would be. I mean, I've really only finished Vesperia and Symphonia. Love them both, and Abyss is like the one I often hear talked about the most alongside Vesperia and Symphonia. I think I feel like I hear that one talked about in really positive terms the most alongside those two. So that's
hmm
one I really need to like play for sure.
yeah, it's definitely yeah, it's the one that came out between those two games. So there's like some things that I learned from Symphonia, some things that I haven't advanced to quite yet with Vesperia.
Hmm.
I really wish that game had voiced skits because the skits are all over the
Oh,
game.
right.
Didn't really start that until Vesperia did, and so that's one of the reasons why I hope there is a remake of some sorts. A lot of the voice actors that did that game, they're still in business doing things.
Uh-huh.
Kirk Thornton voices Shadow now. He's one of the main
Right.
characters in your party. He's Jade. Yuri Lowenthal, of course, he's Luke and
Right.
Ash. If just, Tales of the Abyss has an Ash in it. Ash, how do you feel about that?
I actually know of that character though, so yeah.
Stephanie Shea is in there as Natalia. Yeah, there's just a Yuri Lowenthal. I mean, no, everything Yuri Lowenthal. Johnny on Bosch, his guy. Like a lot of people with crazy amalgamation and mix of characters. Like that back then was kind of weird with all the like localization groups and teams and voiceovers and all that. So you got some funny choices in there that you hear that you probably wouldn't hear in other places. But yeah, just bring them back.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that again.
BC King Games has a question for you, Daniel, about if they ever fixed Tales and Symphonia Remastered. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a video on that very subject on the channel, right?
We have a whole trilogy. It's a saga on our channel.
Yeah, two. Well, yeah, it's three. Okay, those two videos. It's three.
Originally, well, I guess the first video was me saying that the original Tales of Symphonia is probably best on the GameCube. That was before the remastered version came out. Because they were going to base it off of the PS2 version, which they've
Right.
done ever since on Steam, on all other release consoles. But yeah, the second video of that was me actually complaining for a very long time how bad Symphonia was. It was just especially on Switch. It wasn't much better on other consoles, but it was pretty bad on there. But then the last video that I did, I was doing a stream, and I pretty much just cut that stream up to its highlights, showing off what all the updates were, because there was like 2 patches released at that point. The game is playable. It's not in its best form. I still feel like you can just if you happen to somehow find it on the GameCube, that's still the optimal way to play this game. Not beyond just the frame rate, but also just stability and all that.
Hmm.
But also, yeah, if you can find that's a good way to go. But it's perfectly playable on Switch now. If you've never played the original, you're not going to notice the very minor things. I spent a lot of time with Symphonia originally on the GameCube, so I can nitpick everything to death. But most people, they're not going to notice at this point. Well, the little weird things that you might encounter. So very doable. Just play it that way. As
Last of the
well,
Red. Oh, go ahead.
oh yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. PC version of Symphonia isn't that bad either. Last of the Red Rose is saying, yeah. I mean, either way, that's also acceptable. I'm partially just mad that the PS3 version is also very good. That also has the sequel attached to it that we didn't get. Um,
And the
Dawn of
sequel's
the
terrible, right?
Dawn of the New World. It's not even really counted as a mainline tale. It's a
Yeah,
side game. Not my favorite.
I've heard it's awful.
I remember uh, Steve played Dawn of the New World and not the original Symphonia. And I'm just like,
Oh no.
how, and why? And I guess
Why
he
would
was fine with it. I don't think he wasn't as down on it because I don't know, he didn't realize how good the original is. So one day I hope Steve plays the original too to understand Dawn of the New World isn't that good.
Caitlin, the difference between Dawn of the New World and FF13-2 is that FF13-2 is actually a great game. It rules, okay?
Uh
No,
oh,
no, there will be no 13-2 slander
we're gonna have a
today.
fight.
It's been too long a week. Also, I have to mention Last of the Red Rose saying Raven Vesperia, my beloved. Raven is one of my favorite examples of the anime trope of like anyone above 25 being treated like this like elderly person. Because Raven, if I remember, he's like 28, I think, is his canon age. And the rest of the party treats him like he's this washed up old man, elderly, barely able to live anymore. And it's like, dude, he's not even 30 yet.
He's got it's just a funny trope. The it's this is a slight tangent. Tales of the Abyss. Jade is 35 years old, and they poke fun at him for being an old man. But that's just the main joke with Raven because he's just like he's not even that much older.
Yeah.
But no, Raven's like in his 30s too. I think he's he
Oh, is
35.
he 30? Maybe he's 35. That's
Last
still
read.
ridiculous.
I
Yeah.
mean, you're no pretty much. Haven't you heard when you're in your 30s, your foot's already in the grave. So,
It's so
especially in Japan,
ridiculous. Yeah.
I love how one of my favorite characters in Exilia is our other fellow old man, Rowan. He's an actual elder, like he's actually an old man, but the game doesn't really poke fun of it very much. He'll poke fun of it himself. So I don't know. It's just a weird uh, Japanese thing that
Yeah.
they'll just complain that if you're past 30, you're past your prime. It's all downhill from there.
It's so funny. That's one of the reasons I love Like a Dragon 7 so much is Ichiban and the rest of the cast are, and they're like in their 50s. And it's like, oh, it's still about being able to pick up the pieces of your life and make something of yourself even much later in life. And they treat these older protagonists like with respect and don't treat them as though they're just washed up with one foot in the grave. And I love that about Like a Dragon 7. And I haven't played 8 yet, but presumably 8 as well.
Yeah,
With that said, though, we could keep. Oh, go ahead.
I was saying in chat, yeah, we won't really discuss the actual implications of Raven's age, but he just kind of plays it off. He's never actually insulted by it. He does lean into it, so
Yeah. Well, we could pontificate about character ages all day, but we don't have all day because we have to get to our patron topics for the week. And as a reminder, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/gvgaming, and we have various tiers you can support us at, starting from just $1. But if you support us at the producer tier or above, you can suggest topics for us to discuss each week, just like the ones we're about to chat about now. And Daniel, which topic did you pick this week, man?
let's see here. So my topic comes from Zombie Joe asking, over the years, many classic characters from video games get new costumes or alterations to their overall appearance. What are some of the changes to a character's design that you guys feel has been done for the better? I always come back to the Switch era because it feels like the one character that it's to the forefront would probably be Link. We got Link in his Breath of the Wild outfit, which seemed like a sin, a crime at the time, because you can't
Uh-huh.
just take away the classic green tunic, the green hats. This has been his character design for decades, and they just kind of said, nope, we're gonna do something entirely different. And I know some people they were just not all about it. they were all like, "This is not my Link. This is weird. This is different."
Yeah.
I was always open to it. Like Link without the hat looks pretty good in my opinion. um, then and he's rocking the blue shirts, the champion's tunic. Um, I'm sure. I mean, obviously he's not going to stay in this forever. In Echoes of Wisdom, he has his traditional green tunic and hat back. You don't play as him, but he has the outfit back again.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's a design that I think worked very well. It's interesting to think it's not a redesign, but Mario as well. Like within the same in the same year and on the Switch, they took the main character who's known so much for wearing this outfits that we've known for years, and in that game, you can just give them all the outfits ever, and they have so many different outfits to the point where we don't always think of them in their usual outfit anymore. Like Wedding Mario is a staple now too. Like that it's been in official art and all that, and yeah, the amount of outfits that they have in that game, in both games, is really funny to see. Like, oh yeah, we can take our staple characters of these franchises and just kind of flesh them out and put them in new outfits. Let them wear something different. Same thing with Zelda in Echoes of Wisdom. There's a lot of different outfits that you can wear now too. It's a smaller
Right.
scale for sure, but I think this can really work for its benefits. And yeah, I just like seeing these characters in new outfits nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are a lot of great answers in chat as well. I've been seeing Phoenix Wright going from the first game up through the fourth and the fifth, goes through some major design changes there. Cloud's costume in Kingdom Hearts, says me versus Mod.
Hmm.
Um, Pauline in Mario Odyssey. That's a great one, Alpha Lion. I completely agree.
Oh man, yeah.
Um, One for me, Bolt Mouse kind of touched on one I was going to mention. So, like, X is what it is. I think looks incredibly cool. Regardless, I think he's one of the coolest character designs I've ever seen. But the art style change in X8 made X look even cooler somehow. And then you've got his design in Mega Man X Command Mission, which is also awesome with the energy scarf and everything. So I feel like X has had such an incredibly cool design evolution. But I also want to call special attention, and this is a little divisive, but personally, and I know Derek agrees with me on this, Zero looks cool in the Mega Man X series, but he looks amazing in his own series. I love the design changes from X Series Zero to Zero Series Zero. Like, he is so damn cool. The whole art style, Toru Nakayama, the artist on the Zero and ZX series, is maybe my favorite artist in gaming. And the way he designed Zero and Copy X and all the characters in the Zero series looks amazing. But I think Zero has had one of the coolest design evolutions I've ever seen. So definitely, of course, I'm going to have to put Mega Man in the answer, but I'm also going to mention Sora. Sora gets just cooler with every new mainline Kingdom Hearts game. Like, he had a fun costume in Kingdom Hearts 1, but then he's got the black costume in 2. And then he's got the cool red and black costume in Dream Drop Distance. And then he has what is so far my favorite costume in 3, which is like the black and red hoodie style. He just looks cooler every single time I see that kid. And then Kingdom Hearts 4, he seems like he's going to look awesome as well. So I think Sora has really had a cool design evolution from costume to costume to costume.
I don't know.
Raiden from
I
Metal
still
Gear.
think the Kingdom Hearts 2 outfit is the best one. That's just me though.
That's a popular opinion. I waffle between 2 and 3. It's
It's
really close.
I love how I can actually even see that costume in your shot right now. You can see Sora Kingdom Hearts 2
Oh,
in the background.
yeah,
It's
it's a
such a
blanket. Yeah,
smart design because it's mainly black, but it also has every color of his dry forms there too. Red, yellow, blue, and white also in there. So it's a really
uh-huh.
cool like nod to like the powers you get beyond the game. It's really I always play that in Smash Brothers. That's like my main Sora color
Yeah.
always.
I usually play Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora, but I sometimes dabble with Kingdom Hearts 2 Sora. I love them both so much. Also a really good one, Mach 5 Mike, Samus. My God, Dread Suit Samus, maybe the coolest version of her yet. And I love the gravity suit version of the Dread Suit. Like, she looks amazing in that game. And she's always looked really cool, but I just think she keeps looking cooler and cooler with each game.
She's got to have a massive, really cool closet of outfits to wear for the occasion. She's very classy like that. She's up to date,
Yeah.
functional and fashionable. I gotta do a special shout out to our boy Marth. He did not have pants before. He was just letting everything hang free in the old days. He had like a if I had a special edition somewhere so I could show you, but it was very like Roman-esque style with the gladiator shoes and whatnot. But yeah, I like how he looks now. He looks pretty nice for everything that's Fire Emblem itself has changed so much. Like if I remember earlier in chat, someone said when Shadows of Valencia came out, so many of those characters got amazing glow ups. Like you can't even recognize some of these characters now, and that's part of the due in part to the artist Hidari and their amazing artwork. But yeah, the Fire Emblem has a lot of those characters too that have just done so much better.
Yeah. Also, Harrowslave, you're so right. The whole cast of Final Fantasy VII from the original now and remake and rebirth, they look so good. They've done such a great job updating their designs while still staying faithful to what makes them those characters in the first place. And yeah, a couple of people have said I Eat Dragons and Last of the Red Rose. Rex and Shulk, both of them got such amazing, Rex especially, but Shulk too. They both got such amazing glow ups in Future Redeemed, and I love what they did with both those designs. Yeah, they're just. At first, I was like, what am I going to pick for this answer? But then there are just so many good examples. Anything else you wanted to mention before we move on, Daniel?
Future Redeem Shulk is like my favorite Guilty Gear character that is not in Guilty Gear.
That's so true. He does look like Guilty Gear.
That design, the mech arm, that's like something. His the whole design is something right out of Guilty Gear. I keep saying maybe if they ever do crossover, fighting games are going crazy with crossovers these days. Guilty Gear, you want to get someone that fits in your universe.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
BC King Games with a couple of highlighted messages mentioned Simon Belmont from the original in now Smash Ultimate. Yeah, he's looking great. He's still very faithful to his original design while being updated and looking really cool in Smash. So yeah, Simon Belmont's a very good one as well. Yeah,
there's so many. Of course, what Sakurai did for Pit and Kid Icarus.
Pit's a great one. Pit's probably one of my favorite examples. Yeah, I love modern Pit. Really great design. I want to see I want an anime that is just the adventures of Pit and Sora, just being the goofy boys they are, because I feel like they would be such good friends, and I just want to see them go do stuff together and just be goofy together, because I feel like they would play off each other so well.
That was a real animation that we needed from Smash Brothers, but
yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you for that, Zombie Joe. And my topic this week comes from Marathon Max, who asks, "What Nintendo franchise would you like to go? Would you like to see go open world that has not traditionally been open world?" And I gave this some good thought, and I came down to two. I think Star Fox would be really cool, like in an open world, open galaxy type thing. I don't know exactly how it would work on paper, but I can see the germ of a really cool idea there. But I have to, at the end of the day, as much as I'd like to see that, I have to be biased and submit to my pink overlord and say Kirby. After Forgotten Land, and I'd love to see a Forgotten Land 2 that's like another linear 3D platformer style game, but I want to see what maybe Kirby could do open world. Now they'd have to make him move a little bit faster. Kirby traditionally is a slower moving character, so I think they'd have to like increase his running speed to like make it work in an open world context. But the fact that he can fly, he has all these copy abilities, I can see there being so many cool environmental puzzles to find and discover in a Kirby open world that you have to use different copy abilities to solve. I feel like I want to explore a giant open dreamland as Kirby, and I think that could be really, really cool. But it did come down to me between Kirby and Star Fox. And like Star Fox, I feel like, you get all range mode for the boss fights, right? In Star Fox 64. Like, just take that and apply it to a full game, right? Like, I want multiple planets where you can fly around in any direction, explore, come across different dogfights and missions, and, bring back the on-foot element, too, from Star Fox Assault. Like, I actually like Star Fox Assault. And it could be smoothed out a little bit for sure, the gameplay, but like I want to be able to explore both in R-Wings and on foot, like in Star Fox Assault and Adventures. Star Fox Adventures was a cool game, and I could see that concept being applied to an open world game that could be really cool. And you can maybe switch between characters on the fly, between Fox and Falco, Crystal, Slippy, everybody. I think there's something to be said for the idea of a 3D an open world Star Fox game. Sounds like you agree.
Everyone will always continue to cite Starlink as the basis for what Star Fox should do, because Star Fox was
True.
already in Starlink, and just make that expanded and make it just about the Lilat system.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon and I are always going to defend Star Fox Assault being a great game. That is one of the only games that has progressed the story of Star Fox.
I know.
Unfortunately,
That and
we haven't
Command.
seen it since then.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's always something that I think about. Like, what would happen if we just expanded this story somehow? Because I mean, it's space. It's the easiest thing to make open world because you're exploring different planets, different places. That's something that I think would benefit the series very well. Just taking it in a new direction. Maybe we don't always. Of course, there'll still be our on rail shooter sections for different places and missions and whatnot. But I'm sure there's a different way to approach this game that we can benefit to have, like, you know, an open world theme to it. Same with Kirby. The main thing with Kirby, I'm just thinking like for Kirby would, because you have to deal with copy abilities in a certain way. I wonder if in this game he would just like have some kind of device where it's just like a wheel where you can choose a copy, but you have to earn it first throughout the game, and then when you
Right.
earn it, you can just switch that out as needed as time goes on, and then you can change your moveset that way. Because I think Kirby would still have a relatively like not as fast movement speed, but then you get something like Ice Kirby, and he can skate a lot faster across the world
Yeah.
and whatnot. And just maybe
I
at
love
some
that
points
idea.
he would get a warp star. Of course, it'll be your opponent. You would just ride a bit faster. Maybe you can hover for a little bit, and as you maybe you can upgrade it and you can go higher, further and whatnot. And I don't know. There's a lot of ideas you could do with Kirby. I think more so than I think some people are giving credit for. Now that people are
Yeah.
thinking a lot more about it since Forgotten Land was such a successful game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, as Mever's mod mentioned as well, yeah, give us a Warp Star air ride style. That would totally work as something that you earn and unlock to increase your movement speed. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's what Daniel said too. Yeah, it's a great idea. And also as you also said, Marathon Max and Mever's mod, I just kind of remembered this, but Kirby Superstar did kind of flirt with the idea of an open world format with Milky Way wishes. You can kind of go wherever you want and explore and find things you couldn't do yet without other copy abilities. And it's kind of like a very early 2D prototype version of what a open world Kirby game could be like, right? And man, I'd love to see something like Milky Way Wishes done in 3D. I think that could be so freaking cool. And you know, I trust Hal to be able to deliver on anything because I mean, God, it's still it's hard to imagine or realize even now that Forgotten Land was their first 3D like full length 3D Kirby action game, and yet it's so good that it feels like they've been making them forever. They're crazy talented over there.
Yeah, there's a lot of Kirby games in which they kind of play with the idea of just being able to explore anywhere, anytime. Like that's
Yeah,
pretty much the Great Cave Offensive. You can just kind of wander, and it's still contained, but it's a huge area you can just go anywhere for and solve puzzles forever. Kirby
yeah,
and the Amazing Mirror. That's with 4 players. The whole map is connected, and you can just go everywhere and anywhere you want. But yeah, Kirby is definitely something I think they could take advantage of that idea and make it something more realized. But yeah, I think I guess so. Those are the main two for you. Then is that correct?
I think so. I've been like cooking some other stuff while we've been talking, but I want to hear your thoughts if you have any. Yeah,
The main one I would pick for an open world that isn't traditionally open world is Donkey Kong.
yeah,
And
okay.
Donkey Kong is a game in which okay, listen, being in the jungle and swinging from vines with that kind of speed, he could have an ability. He can have something plot funny would happen in which he can just like create vines so that they can explain how he can use them anywhere. He's basically Spider-Man. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm getting at. It's
Oh, I
basically
like it.
Spider-Man, but it's in a jungle setting, and so I think there would be a lot more verticality. Like you can like go up mountains and all that, and just explore the jungle that way. And there's like obviously different biomes here and there. But
Nice.
just imagining him and his like combat moveset could be really interesting too. You could take some things from DK64. We need those coconut guns back. Get,
Yep.
get some coconut guns back again. Um, Spider Kong, basically. But
That
yeah,
sounds amazing. That sounds awesome.
that would because the movement is a big thing. Like Donkey Kong is a chunky guy. Not to make any puns in there, he's a big guy, and so giving him options for movement like swinging from vines and whatnot would be incredible. And I love what I'm just imagining what they could do with that kind of idea that kind of plays along with what Spider-Man does, but in just a jungle setting instead, a nature setting. That's not just tall buildings and to climb, like actual in nature environments to climb instead. I think that would be really fun.
That would be so cool. And that was one of the ideas I was kind of thinking like Donkey Kong would be cool, but you fleshed it out way more than I had. And I love the idea of a Spider-Man like Donkey Kong who could just create vines to swing through the jungle. And yeah, I love that idea. And the other one I was kind of thinking, and it would never happen, but like Kid Icarus. I mean, those on rail segments in Kid Icarus Uprising, so many times I wished I could go and explore this interesting world that Pit inhabits and just fly in any direction I want, right? I mean, it wouldn't really work because the whole lore is that Pit can only fly for 5 minutes at a time, so it probably wouldn't actually work. But I just like the idea of being able to fly around this Pit and explore this wide world,
It's crazy how much Sakurai and the team develop these crazy environments only to be on screen for like a few seconds sometimes because of the flying sequences. There's a whole world to explore, and yeah, I think it'd be fun to expand on that too. If Sakurai ever wants to jump on the series again, I'm willing to see it happen.
Oh, that would be so nice. I still keeping the dream alive that maybe we'll see a Kid Icarus Uprising remaster on Switch 2, but probably not. But man, I want it so bad.
Yeah, definitely.
So bad. But yeah, there's so much. I mean, there are so many Nintendo franchises that are ripe for trying an open world format. And here's hoping that one of the things we just mentioned happens. I wouldn't entirely surprise me to maybe see an open world Kirby game someday. Of the ones we've talked about, that one feels like maybe the most realistic.
I mean, it's been a while since any Kirby release thus far. He always releasing like a small Kirby game like Dream Buffet or some NSO release, but I don't know. Maybe they're making something bigger right now. Who can say?
Man, whatever they're cooking with up at HAL, if it's a Forgotten Land sequel in day one, if it's an open world Kirby game in day one, I don't care. Whatever they're cooking, I know it's going to be amazing. And Alpha Line, you say Star Fox would likely happen first. Maybe it just kind of feels like they're not interested in doing anything with Star Fox anymore, which is unfortunate. I don't say that happily. I would love them to do Star Fox. I just don't know if they know what they want to do with it. Since Star Fox Zero clearly, ain't it.
I guess listen, hear me out. Take Star Fox and make it a racing game. I'm sure that's never been thought of before.
I know, right? I wanted that to be real so badly, the Star Fox GP thing.
That would have been great.
I really wanted that to be real. I'm so sad it wasn't. Also, Professor Bunk, that's a good idea. Endless Ocean open world. That's a cool idea. I agree.
Oh yeah, that did come out this year, didn't it?
It sure did. Yeah. Well, that's it for our patron topics this week. Thanks so much. And like I said, for those of you submitting horror, spooky month theme topics, keep submitting them if you want. We're just waiting for Derek to be on a show with us, so we can have two horror fans instead of just one talking about all this spooky related stuff. But yeah, that does bring us, I think, to the end of GVGcast episode 117. Thank you, as always, to everyone for hanging out with us this fine Friday evening and spending some of your time with us. As always, we have to give a special shout out to all of our patrons at the producer tier and above for helping to make everything we do here happen. We could not do it without you, so thank you so incredibly much. And as always, we have to give an extra special shout out to all of our patrons at the executive producer tier and above. And those fine, amazing, wonderful folks include Brandon Bovia, Fangs, OG Pepsi Dealer, Z Patty, Sky Blue Flames, Eastman 23, Adam O'Sullivan, Richard Herrera, Logan Daniel, The D-Pad, Blake, Joy Content, Angel Martinez, Vedron, Joshua Hunter, Benny Yao, Azran127, Geeky Griffin, Wataniac, Top Dog 23100, Young Ben Kenobi, Andrew Medeiros, Becca, Esax08, Michael McCaw, Matthew Wong, Goron Amber CPHT, Too Much Spaghetti, Bane 400, Ascaron 809, Ryaner, Game Bear Advance, The Game Orb, Super Gamer Dude 101, Rosa Pardo Bowling, hi Steve's mom, Darksteel 01, Jason Uloa, Jaden Buck, Cystic Warrior 29, Derek, Colin, Blaystar 25, Twilord, Mumbling Yeti, Cameron Sharp, Keel, Hustlebun, Noah Fitterer, Calvin Atkinson, Brainchild, Jim Wakeland, Aramis Baramis, Lord Metarex, Blaze Collard, Eric, Cat Evie Person 5, Mega Beatman True Blue Reviews, Ryan Hanley, The Game Janie, Zombie Joe, and last but never ever least, Marathon Max. Thank you all so very much. We will see you most likely next week for episode 118. But for now, we are headed out to our patron exclusive post show. Have a great night. Have a great weekend, everybody. Good night and good vibes. Bye.
Till we meet again.